Hey everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Marketing Genius Unpacked. This is really about a playbook being how AI companies win at marketing. I'm your host, Josh Porter, founder of Bit of Genius Consulting, where I help AI scale ups transform complex products into compelling stories that accelerate adoption. Today, we're digging into a topic more product marketers should talk about more openly. And that's podcasting as a strategic content channel, not for brand fluff, not because it's trendy, but because it can be one of the most powerful storytelling engines inside a go to market motion when it's done well. And joining me today is someone who's been doing this at an exceptional level. Rob Savitsky is a seasoned product marketer at Ledger Investing and Cora, where he helps modernize insurance through data, technology, and innovative risk transfer solutions. With experience across insurtech, analytics, and B2B SaaS, Rob specializes in translating complex financial technical concepts into clear, compelling narratives. He previously was the creator and host of an industry recognized podcast focused on how insurtech is transforming the insurance industry. Rob, welcome to the show.
Josh, so thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me on. And it's awesome to be on the other side of the mic. I was always the interviewer. So this is fun for me, exciting, and excited to have the conversation.
Absolutely. And for this audience, Rob was the person who inspired me to do podcasts, to start this very podcast. So we're going to have a very kind of meta level discussion about how podcasts can increase your business through a podcast. So with that, we'll get right into the deep dive questions.
Let's do it.
First question for you, Rob, is how can product podcasts strengthen a product marketer's overall storytelling strategy?
Yeah, so I think on a couple levels, having a podcast, it's a great way to really force you on a consistent basis to put your messaging out there, and not necessarily in a product positioning or pitch level, but trying to, how do you abstract the thought leadership from your product and your positioning and find ways to bring that out, not just through your own company, but through different guests that you have on your show.
Yep.
And I'd say it's not only just your own storytelling strategy, but how do you bring the best stories out of other people? And so I think as a product marketer, being able to have these conversations with a nuanced mix of guests from across whatever industry or industries you play in, it sharpens your skills. You learn a ton. I can't tell you how much I learned from the guests that I had on the prior show that I used to host, and it just elevates your ability to speak the language, especially of an industry that you may not even be familiar with, and it allows you to associate your brand with other brands that you want to be connected to.
Yeah, that's great. I really like that ability to kind of work with other brands to do some cross promotion, which you did, and it's a good way to not only get your company's brand out, but also those that you're working with or partnering with. So I think that's a great piece to it. And then also for the product marketer themselves, it's just personally helpful because you learn a lot from talking with people, and that's one of the biggest ways I personally learn is talking to other people. And so I love that as kind of like a fringe benefit for the podcast hosts themselves. So those are a couple really good pieces of benefits of how podcasts can help not only the business but also you personally.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if you're doing a marketing podcast, and obviously, Josh, you are nimble, versatile, and able to, come on and speak to anyone and everyone. But obviously, we're all not experts in every single domain of marketing, and so
Yeah.
I think that it's another way. Obviously, you can network with people, you can talk with people, you can have mentors, advisors, but it's just another avenue to learn and expand and hear other people's perspectives. And hopefully, take at least one thing back from every show that you do that you can put forward into what you do next.
That's exactly right. That's the key takeaway. If you can have one key takeaway from a podcast, then hopefully that helps you improve. So for sure. And hopefully that's what happens with this podcast, particularly for any AI scale up founders or go to market leaders that are really looking for a new channel for their product marketing, for their marketing engine. This could be a great channel. So,
Absolutely.
second question is, what steps should product marketers take to design a podcast that really aligns with go-to-market goals?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think you definitely don't just want to jump into a podcast because you think it's cool or trendy or what everyone is doing. And so I would say, yeah, definitely starting with the goals, and not going to speak too specifically about my prior company and the vendor podcast that we had, but really at the time our scenario was we were a technology platform. We were growing our ecosystem of solution partners that integrated with us. And it was about how do we bring more visibility to how our platform connects to all the data analytics and solutions in the insurance industry that are out there. So it was a forum for not just getting ourselves connected to these brands that we wanted to co-market with, but after the shows, residual benefits of being able to do more co-marketing with these brands, or getting asked to collaborate on white papers or blogs, or even have them come and sponsor our conference. So I'd say you definitely want to be thinking about what are your goals, and over time your goals can change. And as our focus shifted from, maybe there was a time where it was, we got to really pump up our partner marketing ecosystem. We just hired a partner marketer and had been very light there. We got to a certain point where it was like, all right, we got to go broader. It's time to start bringing customers on the show and industry analysts and influencers. And so we did that for different reasons at the time. And so I think it's always good to start with, what are we trying to get out of this right now? But then always, keeping a couple of things in the back of your mind about where you might want to take the show and what it can do for you in the future.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what I heard from that really was aligning with collaborative partners is one of the big strategic partners that help you expand. You kind of expand each other's visibility through these podcasts, and you're able to really kind of align with them on what thought leadership you're trying to put out there, and how you're able to really use this particular channel as just another medium for you to work together. And so that definitely aligns with at least a lot of businesses go to market goals, so that you're expanding your reach both in channel as well as audience.
Exactly, 100%. And I think it also just humanizes people a bit more. I think compared to a traditional webinar or event presentations.
Yeah.
I think when people come on to the podcast, certainly not saying that people aren't prepared. There definitely is a lot that folks do coming into it, but I think you do see a bit of a more personal side from people, aside from what their corporate job titles or responsibility are. And I think that's what makes them interesting, and is important to keep them interesting, especially when it's a show that is put out by a vendor, as opposed to an independent person such as yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. So I really want to kind of move into not just the goals for go to market, but the measuring of the impact of the podcast itself. How do you measure if it's actually driving awareness, engagement, or pipeline even?
Yeah, good question. And it's messy. I think it's messy like any marketing content that's out there. Certainly taking what you get from the platforms out of the box in terms of number of downloads and listens, and percentage of your episodes that people are listening to. You have followers that you're getting across Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But I'd say a lot of it is it's not just the podcast itself. You could be creating a podcast, you could be
Yeah.
atomizing it, creating blogs out of it. It's awesome that you're doing video. We did a little bit of video at my prior podcast. That's one of the things I would certainly do differently today, is definitely start with video and use that on LinkedIn. And so there's the clips that come along with that, and there's the social engagement.
Yeah.
Pipeline attribution, I think, is always a challenging thing to measure. And when it's it's something like a podcast, where it's not like exactly who listened to it. You don't. At least as far as I know.
Yeah.
You're not forking over your email address to listen on the channels, but it's certainly something that you want to think about. What are the other ways to measure its success? And I kind of alluded a couple earlier with, like, we did something with a partner. Now they want to really partner with us and make additional deliverables, or spend more on our trade show, or some of it's dark social. So people reaching out to me in DMs and saying, "Hey, we're a partner of you guys, or we want to be a partner of you guys. Can we chat?" It's fine. It was less of a, not really a direct response of like, yeah, we want to see a demo of your company's product right now. More awareness building, and certainly, I think you and the co-hosts that you bring on gain visibility as well. So,
Yeah.
it was definitely, it was funny at times to just kind of see us go out, and people at trade shows like, "Oh, we know you from your podcast," and that was really enlightening, exciting, and unexpected moments. So I think there are a lot of ways, and it's not a cut and dry thing to measure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's good. I mean, you got notoriety there just by having people come up and say, "Hey, we recognize you. We know you from this podcast." And you put the work in, but they were able to benefit from it. And then the podcasts basically work while you sleep. So you didn't directly contact these people. They came up to you because you already had done the podcast. And so that's why it's a super useful tool to increase both your business brand and your personal brand.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's for sure.
All right. So now that, with anything in marketing, a lot of times the attribution is super squishy. And so I liked how you brought that up. It's like, it's not always going to be an exact science. It's not, there's some things you can look at in terms of vanity metrics, like how many downloads, those types of things. But it's not always going to be this clear, direct attribution to pipeline. But I kind of think about, as we look at the broader picture of creating content and how podcasts help with that, to at least improve your awareness, at the very least improve awareness. What advice do you have for product marketers creating podcast content that keeps that awareness up by having listeners come back?
Yeah, I think depending on what your niche is or the goals of your show, I think you want to try to think through, how do you keep the show interesting? How do you keep progressing or growing it? And I'll just give an example from my own show, which folks from outside the insurance industry may not understand, but just just for the sake of example, I thought about, how can I bring on guests from different, getting a little feedback here, guests from different company types. So, we had the bigger, more established vendors that we brought into the program. We also were working with a lot of startups. We as a company, serviced, we had integrations across different kinds of products. So for underwriting and pricing, for claims, for distribution management, all different functions within the insurance industry, different kinds of data, fraud detection solutions, cyber risk modeling, flood risk scores, aerial imagery. And so I just really tried to like hit different topics. Like I wouldn't want to do a climate change episode and then do a flood risk episode right after that point. Or I wouldn't want to just do a show about, vehicle telematics and then do another show generally about auto. So I just tried to keep the kind of topics rotating, and also the kind of guests that I had. So I tried to really get people who wanted to be on a podcast, and certainly was going for more senior executives, but also looking for just people who had a perspective to share and wanted to share, which I think a lot of times may not be what you necessarily expect. And so I think too, just you also I think also screening guests per se, there's certainly scenarios where depending on who you're working with, you may get more or less experienced people on the show. And I think as you move along, you are able to get more selective and who you pick and choose. And so I think that to keep people coming back, certainly, yeah, great to have the big names, but also why not help partner with someone who's going to be building a name for themselves in the future and still going to add a lot of value and wisdom to your listeners. So I think those are all the ways that you get people to come back to your show, be a repeat listener.
Yeah. So if I heard you correctly, it's all about getting the right kind of guest to speak, and also the specific content and the timing of the content, and how does it either complement, or maybe it's not the right timing to do certain episodes back to back. So it's having a content strategy and kind of a content roadmap.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And really just being, I think like you are, with the show, having a roadmap for it, I think is super helpful. Definitely, this might be getting off track slightly, but different approaches to how do you go into the episode. And certainly, when I've done kind of man on the street things at trade shows, those are a bit chaotic and unplanned and spontaneous. But I do think for the sit down ones that it is good to have have a list of questions that you're thinking of answering. You don't have to ask every single one of them.
Yeah.
But I find having them there as a guide to go through is super helpful, and you can kind of just let the conversation flow and go off in directions, but still, be able to look through and like, oh, I know I definitely wanted to come back to here, so I'm gonna do that right now. So I think all those things just help make the episodes better, especially too when you're co-hosting with folks. I think who have varying levels of experience, having that guide or the roadmap ensures that they're able to host well, to co-host well, and again deliver that show that people are excited. They want to get to know more people at your company. So I think that's another thing maybe I left out in my first response, is just who I brought on alongside me made it more interesting. Oh, I think you're. Are you on mute?
So yeah, I had a.
Oh, I hear that.
Child come in. Sorry about that. This is the life of a podcaster. Sometimes things like that happen.
It's part of it.
Give me a second. Perfectly prepared environment.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, all right, Rob, going back on topic. So one of the other things that I remember you talking about earlier was you said, you've got if you want people to keep coming back, it's not only the channel, the content and the guests, but also the channels. And so you mentioned having the right channels, including video, is important. And when you're trying to gain that audience and keeping them coming back, you want to be where they're at. And I've seen several articles this year about how YouTube specifically is becoming a huge place for video podcasts, and that it's gaining a lot of traction. And then on top of that, now Netflix is picking up video podcasts. They're going to be starting to do that. So definitely a channel for us to kind of work through.
Yeah, totally agree.
So can you hear that in the background?
A little bit.
Some more kid problems, but hey, that's again, that's life for you.
It's all
Maybe,
good.
maybe I can be like the CNN guy who had his kid bump into his camera view. All right, so we're going to wrap up here with a few rapid fire questions, the same ones that I ask all my podcast guests on. And so these will be just short, rapid fire kind of questions with short answers. You ready for it, Rob?
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. First question is, what's your favorite marketing tool?
I'm going to say Monday.com. Just love the way project management helps you just stay on track.
All right, Monday.com. That's a good one. Yeah, I like productivity tools, so that's good to know. I personally use Todoist, but I like
okay.
That's a good one.
I'll have to check that out.
What's the most underrated skill in product marketing?
I may have alluded to it before. I'm going to say interviewing, and not necessarily just interviewing for a podcast. Could be interviewing for a win-loss interview. Could be interviewing your product managers and engineers or your customers, and just being able to just pull the insights out of people. I think that is the heart of product marketing and highly underrated. But specifically, the one-to-one asking questions. You got to be a great question asker to be a great product marketer.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that because when you interview people, that's a skill that goes across multiple domains. And specifically in product marketing, when you're trying to understand a customer and get their pain points to put that into a messaging framework, that starts with being able to ask the right questions. And so whether that's on a podcast or elsewhere, the core function of understanding the customer comes from asking questions that helps you enable it to do your job even better. Because in the end, marketing 101 is understanding your audience. And how do you do that? It's by asking questions.
Totally. Absolutely. That's the only way you learn.
All right, next question is, what's the biggest mistake to avoid in product marketing?
I mean, I guess it could be product marketing or marketing in general, but I think it's trying to do too many things at once too fast. So, or maybe the biggest mistake is just coming in and just jumping straight into the content without having context of, who are you for, what do you do, and what is the value and differentiation that you provide. So I think the biggest mistake is not starting at that fundamentals, that marketing position, product marketing positioning house, and just jumping straight into, all right, let's run.
Yeah, absolutely. That totally makes sense. What's the one thing you wish you knew when you started?
I don't know if it's one. Well, one thing I wish I knew, one thing I might have approached it differently. I think I may have focused a little bit more on the technical aspects of podcasting, such as great things. Highly recommend get a microphone if you're going to be a host. But you don't need to obsess over audio editing and putting things into Pro Tools and so forth. And so, I think the one thing I wish I knew was just go with it, put it out there, create those first episodes, focus on the storytelling, the experience, and those incremental improvements and audio fidelity and quality can come later.
Absolutely. I think that's a key thing. So basically you're saying, what are those things? The key thing is getting the content out there. It's not about the technical capabilities ramping up, about how to do the podcast, although you do have to do that, but you have to get it to a certain level, and then it doesn't need to be as much. For me, that's been the case where I just had to get enough information and the right tools, and then I could start the podcast, and then you kind of go from there. So I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, with all the talk, and this is a question I ask all my guests, but this is hyper relevant for this discussion. What's your favorite podcast?
Oh, that's a tough one. Can I give you two podcasts?
Sure, go for it.
three, maybe two.
Go for it. No, what? Two or three? Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I've got to say, well, football season, new heights. Love the Kelsey brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fun show. I listen a lot to Switched on Pop.
Oh yes, I have a friend who's in the music industry, and she listens to that a lot.
Yeah, just digesting music from all eras and just pointing out really interesting things. And then, I'll say one insurance one. I will say the insurance podcast with Pete Tessier and Kurt Wyatt. Definitely part of what inspired me to start a podcast. I think they do a really great job with their industry show. But yeah, there's a lot of great podcasts out there, a lot of people making podcasts. And so, yeah, you should make sure you listen to this one. So subscribe.
Sounds good. I love that.
Subscribe to Marketing Genius Unpacked.
That's right. Thank you for that. That's not coming from me. That's coming from our guests. So much more power in that. All right, Rob. Well, thanks again for joining me and giving product marketers and AI founders a much clearer vision on how to make podcasting an actual go-to-market advantage. And for everyone listening, this has been another episode of Marketing Genius Unpacked, the show where we explore how AI scale-ups build products, craft narratives, and execute go-to-market strategies that win. You can catch all the episodes, as like we mentioned earlier, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Links are in the description. And as you can tell with our very meta-level discussion today, podcasts are a great casual way to go beyond webinars or even presentations to get and reach the channels that you're looking for. And sometimes you might even have a kid walk in on you, making it more real, more natural. So I will leave with, I'm Josh Porter from Bit of Genius Consulting. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Josh.